pretty trippy. All right, so you want to build a gaming PC that is capable of streaming. You also maybe you want to make some videos on the side. This is the focus of this computer build. So let's get started. Let's go through all of these parts here, starting with the CPU. And I recommend for a streaming PC, you're going to want at least 8 cores. Now you can, if you're streaming something like World of Warcraft, Warcraft Classic, or even like BFA, 8 cores or 6 cores is probably fine. WoW doesn't use a whole ton of resources, but the more cores you have, the more options you have, basically. In terms of like how you want to use those CPU resources. You can do something that's really intensive computationally, but it doesn't really impact your gaming performance much. And so this brings us to this sort of region on the PC part picker list. All of these are 8 cores. They're all modern parts. They're plentiful in stock now as of July 2019. You can get them, depending on the part, you can get a pretty good price. Like this AMD Ryzen, 1700X right here, $164. That is really, really good for 8 cores. Stepping up a little bit from there, $190. So $17, $16 difference. And what you get for the 2700 over the 1700X here, what you get between these two parts here is the 2700 is going to be faster, like across the board. Even though, say, the base clock is less than the base clock of the 1700X, there are other efficiencies in the 2000 series of chips that add maybe about 5% or so to this figure here and this figure here. So it's just going to be a lot faster. If you just want to ensure that you have a really good experience for your viewers and yourself alike, I would go for the 2700 over the 1700X if you just want to get something that works. And honestly, this will be pretty good. I don't think that you would suffer too much if you're doing something like WoW Classic while streaming with the 1700X. I think it'd be pretty good because 2700 is going to be nicer, particularly for your side of the stream, your game on, you as a player, your experience. The 2700 is going to be better. Up from there, looks like we have a 2700X for another $60 ish over the 2700. It's just a little bit faster, uses a little bit more energy, give you that speed. There are some like boost algorithms and things that are part of the X series of chips that are kind of nice to have. If you are ever going to do any overclocking, you can overclock a 2700 to basically equal the performance of a 2700X. But if you want it to just work straight right out of the box, 2700X comes with a beefier cooler as well. So it'll run just a bit faster, $62 if you want to take it or leave it. For this build, I'm going to use a 2700. But either of those 3 chips would work pretty well. We don't need a cooler. If you want to add one, you can. The cooler that comes with this thing is decent for running it at stock. If you want to get into any overclocking, you're going to want to get another cooler, and we can go over coolers later. I recommend like a Scythe Mugen if you're concerned about having a really good cooler but not paying too much money. It's about $48, and it'll be able to basically max out any of the AMD chips, at least the 8 cores. Okay, motherboard time. What do we want in a motherboard? We want a decent enough VRM. Okay, VRM is what provides power to the CPU. So we want a motherboard that's not going to be a complete haggard bargain basement dud turd, but we want something that, at least if we leave the chips on stock, if we don't do any overclocking, it's going to be all right. And pretty much most of these on the list are going to be in that category. So let's also add onto the mix, since we're going to be streaming a lot, we want a really good Ethernet. We want like an Intel Gigabit Ethernet, Intel Wi-Fi. Those seem to work pretty good. And you don't really have to spend too much more money to get a board with it. So let's search for it. I already know the board off the top of my head, but I'll show you what I mean here in a second. Okay, so we're going to search by price. We're looking for B450, the Aorus Pro Wi-Fi, which is this is the ITX version. If you want to go with a small build, an ITX build, you know, like those tiny little things that you can like just, you know, like put in your backpack and carry around, and it's like a beastly computer. Hell yeah, dude. ITX, 120 bucks. That's not really that bad of a price. That's a really good price, actually. For the big board, the ATX Aorus Pro Wi-Fi, I believe both of these boards have Intel Gigabit LAN and Intel Wi-Fi. Let's check on the Newegg page to make sure that this one has the Wi-Fi. I know it does, but I want to show you how to find it yourself. So sometimes it says right up here, like it does right there, Intel Ethernet LAN and dual band AC. And my laptop is a pile of shit, so it's like going to be struggling to load these web pages while capturing this video. It's pretty hilarious. It's really haggard. But all right, so we go down onto the specifications page, and then we scroll down this page here, and we find onboard LAN. We see Intel Gigabit LAN and Intel Wi-Fi. Bluetooth 5.0 is the most current standard. 4.2 or 4.0 or whatever it is, it works fine as well. So let's just add this board to the list. 122 bucks plus tax. RAM. Okay, so RAM right now is really cheap. Just like 6 months ago, it was almost twice the price. So while it's cheap, because it can fluctuate, and believe me, they are going to hold back production to you know, increase the price of RAM. Let's just make sure that we get 32 gigabytes, and let's make sure that it is 3000 or 3200. You can go with 16 gigabytes. You can. Ask me how I know. I've done it, obviously, but like streaming and gaming, you know, 16 gigs, it'll work fine. But while it's cheap, you know, what the hell? We're gonna, you know, potentially make our living with this computer, so let's just make sure that we have enough for now and for later. If later on, you know, we want to update to like the AMD 16 core or the 12 core, we can do that on this motherboard. And so let's also make sure that, you know, we have plenty of RAM to, like, you know, handle all of our tasks. Okay, so now that we've selected our speed from the left there, we're gonna sort by price per gigabyte, and we find this 3000 16 gig stick, 1x16 gig, for $3.75 a gigabyte. That is really good. So let's get 2 of these, because that's really unbeatable, man. 120 bucks for 32 gigabytes of RAM at 3000 speed. Ryzen likes faster RAM. The performance percent from going from like 3000 to 3200 is maybe about 1 to 2% range. So you want to weigh that against, like, how badly do you want that 1 or 2% versus how badly do you want your $20 to $40, because that's what it would cost you to get 32 gigabytes of 3200, probably around that range. Okay, so now let's look for a couple storage configurations. Mainly the primary drive, the one with your operating system and your games on it. Assuming you know, we're budget conscious, we're just going to go with one drive for this one. So we want to make sure that flash prices are really low right now. So we want to make sure that we get a nice fast drive while the prices are really low. As I get an email on my phone, and I'm not wearing pants right now, so I don't have any pockets. So I have to, like, put the phone not on my desk, which is hard and vibrating. All right, M.2 2280 form factor, and let's do 960 gigs or better. 960 gigabyte drives compete in the 1 terabyte drive segment, so let's just, you know, we're looking for a 1 terabyte ish drive, so let's just find a, you know, 960 and above, and let's sort by price per gigabyte. And right at the top of the list, we got the king of the universe here, Intel 660p, 2 terabytes for $182. That's pretty crazy. It's probably going to be more than that after tax and shipping, but yeah, that's pretty nuts. $182 sold by Amazon. So yeah, depending on where you live, you may or may not have tax for Amazon delivery. But that's a really good price. But let's say, we don't need 2 terabytes. Let's just get 1 terabyte. Okay, 1 terabyte. $95 for the Intel drive. This Crucial drive was on sale earlier for $90 at $100. It's still a fine option. Really, any one of these. There is a kind of an issue with the Intel 660p series in general. It uses a new type of flash memory, which is it offers greater capacity, as you can see here, but worse performance. Long story short, it's worse performance. If you are reading from the drive over and over again, the performance is great. But if you write to the drive, so if you say save a local file, like you just start streaming your capturing your screen and sending it to your solid state drive, there is a sort of a high performance buffer, and then after that it gets real slow. And you can't write to this drive as much as you can write to, say, almost any one of these other drives here, because of how that is all handled. So as an extra drive, or as just a big fat, like 2 terabyte drive like that would be pretty solid. But for 1 terabyte and below, I don't want to consider this drive because of the write issues. If it's the only drive in your system, 2 terabytes would be able to like weather the storm fine. 1 terabytes might start to get a little choked out. So let's look at say this Crucial drive, $100. Boom. It's a good, reliable manufacturer, made in America, right? So if you're American, you can buy from an American company. Storage also, we want a big bulk hard drive, because let's say we have like not Intel. Intel doesn't make hard drives. We want to say store all of the footage that we take into a big, fat, cheap hard drive. So let's look for a solid hard drive. I'm going to sort price per gigabyte, and the one parameter I selected here is 7200 RPM. I think there's like no performance, no price difference really between 7200 and like 5900, but there is a pretty big performance difference. And right at the top of the stack, you have the Hitachi UltraStar 3 terabyte drive, really cheap, 1.6 cents per gigabyte. That's really good. It's this drive, even if you buy it in a brand new factory sealed box, which this price may not be. It might not be brand new factory sealed. It's on Amazon. Let's see if it says if it's used or refurbished or. See, I did purchase this drive, and it works fine, honestly. But this is not a brand new drive. This drive came out, and they blurred out all of the. Let's see, did they blur out the manufacturing date? I think they may have. This drive, I think, came out in like 2015. You can see from like almost 20% of the 1-star reviews, a lot of people complain about this drive being not new. Not new, right? Yeah, so you can roll the dice on this one. It's a really good price if you decide to go with it. I have one. It works fine. No complaints here. But if you have your reservations, I completely understand. It's not that unreasonable to want a new hard drive if you're going to be storing sensitive data on it. So let's look at primarily 2 brands. Let's look at Seagate and Western Digital, as my computer struggles to click a thing because it's so haggard. Okay. So sorting by price per gigabyte, what do we got? We got a 2 terabyte. Let's go for bigger. Let's go for 4 plus. Hey, look at this, a 6 terabyte Seagate. Let's do a little bit of homework on this drive. I'm going to show you how to do this right now. So if we get a model number from this thing, this one right here. We copy this, and oh my gosh, actually, before we even waste time, wow, 3 stars. Let's just do a little false advertising, used, sold as new. Gnarly. We can't win. We can't win. Recertified product. Selling used drives as new. False warranty advertised. Beware the bait and switch. Oh my. This is almost 20% of the reviews on this item. So again, you're rolling the dice probably for that one. But hey, if you're okay with that, $160 for 6 terabytes. That's pretty good. You could also use that Hitachi drive. The other one. Oh, it's not. I didn't select the manufacturer, but the other one that I spent like 5 minutes talking about, you could buy 3 of those for just about the same price as wherever the 6 terabyte one is. This one, you could buy 3 of those 3 terabyte Hitachi drives for just about the same, a little bit maybe less money, but around about the same. And then you could put them in RAID 5, which would add. It would have like 6 terabytes total capacity, so the same storage as this one, but it would have redundancy because RAID 5 adds a redundancy to your storage media. So if you lose one of your hard drives, but it was part of a RAID 5, you can rebuild the data because it takes a bit from one drive, a bit from a second drive, and then the third drive has the product of those 2 bits stored, so it can calculate it back to basically rebuild your data. So that's really cool. A little bit rambly here, sorry. You want to pick a good hard drive, this is how you do it. Search by 7200 RPM, do a little bit of research, make sure that you're not going to get like a used drive and spend like $300 and get like somebody else's old drive or a rebuilt drive or whatever. But just that thing about the model number before I go out of here. I'm going to show you how to do this. So we want to do a little more research on this drive that we're considering. So let's find the manufacturer spec sheet. It's usually in the top couple of the Google search. Here it is, Seagate Enterprise Capacity. It's a PDF. Let's open this. And what we're looking for in the spec sheet is we're looking for mean time between failures, MBTF, usually, as how that's abbreviated. And we're looking for the NRE rate, or the non-recoverable error rate. It's also called URE rate, unrecoverable error, but you see this document for this drive that we were considering is from 2014, guys. Okay, so like if you buy a really good hard drive, it's a good price and it looks good, just beware, it might have been made a few years ago, and if you're lucky, it's just been sitting in cold storage since then and hasn't been used. But so we want the unrecoverable read error rate, and this I believe is the one that we were looking at, the 6 terabyte one. So let's try and find that in here. This is gonna be, you can just skip ahead probably to if you don't care about this crap, but if you just want to kind of learn a little bit more about what it's the skills to pick in good PC parts. Okay, so this is the list here, 6 terabytes, and remember we're looking for the mean time between failure and the unrecoverable read error rate. And is it here? Maybe on the next page. Non-recoverable read errors. 1 sector per 10 to the 15 bits read. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Non-recoverable read errors. Okay, 10 to the 15 for this figure. 1 sector per 10 to the 15. That's good. That's really good. That's what, like, large data storage server companies use. They also use 10 to the 16. But those are pretty expensive drives. If you're a giant like Google, you don't really care. You just get the best. But there you go. 10 to the 15 is what you want for this non-recoverable read error or unrecoverable read error. 10 to the 15 is really good. Now let's find the mean time between failure rate. I mean, this kind of is it. Are you going to write more than 550 terabytes a year? Then probably get a different drive. But if you're going to be, using it to store footage from your Twitch stream or whatever, it's not gonna exceed this on a 6 terabyte drive. Yeah, right. Load unload cycles 600,000. So I believe this refers to how many times you can completely fill up the drive and then empty it and then fill it up again before something fails. Oh, annualized failure rate. I missed this. 0.44. I've seen between 0.3 and 0.8 typically for this figure. So 0.44, that's pretty good. So yeah, that's just a little bit of how to like read these spec sheets here. And let's get out of this document and get back to building a computer. Okay, so let's just say that, this drive, that's what we want. We want that 6 terabyte for $160. All right, now let's add a video card. Okay, so we went way too long into storage. I apologize about that. I don't have like a script or anything like that. I'm just kind of brain dumping here. But graphics card, this does require a little bit of explanation. Okay, so I recommend a GTX 16 series or an RTX 20 series. Why? Because the Turing architecture from NVIDIA, which these two cards, they both use the Turing architecture. It has a very good encoder engine on it. It's physical hardware. It's dedicated to capturing the screen quality or the screen image, as well as the audio and other stuff like that, and automatically either sending it out to Twitch or sending it out to YouTube or another streaming service or locally saving it. I have played around with the 10 series here with that same feature. I've locally stored like Doom, me playing Doom on a GTX 1060, and like it was great. Like basically perfect quality. It isn't quite, but like you can't tell. You have to really, be a guy who knows what he's looking at to really be able to tell. So I recommend the 20 series or the 16 series if you're a streamer, because you can either use the graphics card to save local storage, local footage of your gameplay, or you can use the graphics card to stream to YouTube or Twitch or whatever. But the issue with streaming to YouTube or Twitch is if you have, I have heard some murmurs, if you have a webcam and you're using the graphics card to also capture the webcam on top of the gameplay, it kind of slows down. So if you're looking for the best streamer side experience, like if you want the best experience for your live audience to get out of your stream, I would use the CPU to encode that stream, which is why we want an 8-core 2700X or 2700 or 1700X. We want those 8 cores for that reason, because it'll provide a really, really good viewer side experience for the people you're streaming to. This would provide really good local capture, and it's free performance. And technically you could use the CPU to stream to Twitch and the GPU to stream to YouTube if you wanted, for example. Or you could use the GPU to locally capture the footage that you're playing and use the CPU to make the stream work really good for everybody. So that's why I recommend the 16 or the 20 series. As far as your monitor is, like what resolution and what refresh rate is your monitor? Okay, so that basically that'll tell you what graphics card you need right there, how much power you need. If you have like a 1440p, 140 hertz, monitor, you're gonna want to spend at least $500, $400 to $500 on a graphics card. The RTX 2070 Super, which is about $500. Somewhere on this list, it's there, right here actually, $550. That'll be able to drive a 1440p, 144 hertz monitor with the processor like a 2700X, 2700. You might have a little bit less, like maybe 120 hertz, but the graphics card will be able to keep up just fine. As far as like 1080p, if you want to save a lot of money on a monitor, you don't want to dump like $400 or $500 on a nice 1440p gaming monitor. I totally feel you. I don't want to do that either. So 1080p for me, that's where it's at. I play on a 1080p monitor. I have an ultra wide actually. I got it at Costco for like $250. They don't sell it anymore there, but I'm gonna actually get a better price to performance, better gaming monitor, and it's cheaper price than the one that I've got. So just stay tuned for that in a minute. But I'm going to pick this graphics card with that in mind. So that being said, I really like the 1660 Ti. This one at $255. This I trust this part at that price, just because I've done a little bit of research on that part. And this video is probably getting a little long, so I don't want to delve too much into the difference between graphics cards. Basically, you want to search by price for a given model, and then you want to double check the reviews on it, just like we did on the hard drives up here. Just do the same thing, just be smart with your money. This one has a mail-in rebate or something like that for $25. If you don't want to deal with mail-in rebates, you have to factor into this price. You basically have to add this price back on the end. So the true price, $280. Still not bad for this graphics card. It's a pretty good graphics card. Okay, so for streamer in particular, the 1660 Ti is a great graphics card at 1080p resolution. So our case, let's just go with the NZXT H500. It's a really good case, looks good, easy to build in. The airflow is really good. The stock thermals are really good, and you're going to need good thermals stock if you're just, not like aficionado like I am, who's meticulous with my build. Someday I'll post a picture of my build. It's pretty nuts. All right, so now we got our case on there. Power supply. Now, because of the tariffs, power supplies are more expensive these days. That way, you can really get a lot of value out of messing with mail-in rebates and stuff like that, because usually that'll drop the price by like a third or something. As far as capacity of our power supply, I'm going to say like at least 500 watts for our current build as I've configured it. Depending on the graphics card you have, like if you have one of those like 1440p 144 hertz monitors, you're going to need like a 300 watt graphics card or 200 watt graphics card or something like that for that. So I would probably factor that in to your power supply. Maybe get like a 550 or 650 if you want to be safe, 750 if you want to be really safe. If you want to get into overclocking, like 750, 850 is a good spot to be at. We're just looking for like something that'll get the job done. Maybe if I see like a 650 for like maybe $5 difference in price, I'll go for that over a 550, but we're just looking basically for 550. So we want a reliable brand. That's Corsair. EVGA is pretty good. Seasonic makes a lot of the best power supplies. And holy shit, look at this. $47 for this Seasonic 620 watt. Fully modular as well. I'm sure there's a mail-in rebate here, but in this era of really expensive power supplies, I'll take it. That's an excellent deal. Yeah, $20 mail-in rebate, $2 shipping, done. That is a really good deal. Okay, our PC is basically done here, except for our monitor, of course. We're at $1,100. If you already had a monitor that you're going to reuse, $1,100 for all of this storage, CPU horsepower, graphics horsepower, future proofing, I guess you could say, in terms of like, you could update the BIOS on this motherboard and plonk in one of the 12 core parts later or a 16 core part later, and it would run it just fine. You have the Intel Gigabit on there, so it's going to be good for your streaming. This is a really solid build for $1,100. Let's pick our monitor if you don't have one yet. So we're looking basically just at 1080p monitors, like I said. Actually, before I select that, I want to show you the difference between a 1080p and a 1440p monitor. Oh, that's actually not the right 1440p spec. This is the right 1440p spec. Okay. 2560 by 1440p. Let's sort by lowest price and see at what dollar point we see a 1440p monitor. Now, let's also say we don't want to like squint at the computer, so let's just say like 23.5 inches minimum. And refresh rate, we want a good refresh rate. We want like at least 95 hertz. Okay. And we're sorting by price. So this is the lowest price, 144 hertz, 1 millisecond. It's a TN panel. So TN, VA, what's the difference? Frankly, I'm probably not the right guy to ask. I know it has something to do with the viewing angles, with the color accuracy and stuff like that. I know generally it goes TN, then VA is a little bit better, and then IPS is a little bit better still, but you have to pay for IPS. VA is a good compromise between the two. Here's the first IPS panel I see. You can see it's 260 bucks on this list, which is sorted by lowest price and starts at 154 bucks. So call it 100, 110 bucks for an IPS version of like a similar panel. I really like this Acer right here. It's a TN panel, whatever. If you want a VA, the MSI one is just $6 more. A little bit smaller, but similar specs across the board. Dell makes some decent monitors. TN panel on that one. Let's see, VA and ViaTech. I don't really know this brand. I can't really recommend them. You might get some dead pixels. I don't know. AOC is a decent brand. I have a couple of AOC monitors. They're all right. I actually really like their displays for reading and watching movies and stuff like that. I think a lot of the new monitors are just like so bright, and it just kind of hurts my eyes sometimes. That's neither here nor there. So 1 millisecond versus 3 milliseconds. What does this mean? This is the gray to gray. So how long does a chip pixel take to basically refresh the color spectrum on it from going from one extreme to the next? 1 ms is better than 3 ms. You're probably going to be fine. I don't know really if your human senses can really detect too much of a difference. Of course, there's always going to be monitor snobs that say, oh yeah, I can totally tell the difference. All right, fine, cool, whatever. Get whatever you want. For this build, I'm just going to add this Acer right here for 154 bucks. And this is a little bit on the smaller side, I gotta say. 24 inches. It's not a bad size by any stretch, but I mean, if you want a bigger monitor, you can, just factor that into your decision. And here we are, $1,232 for a complete build, minus Windows, keyboard, and mouse. Keyboard and mouse, you can do your own research on that one. If you like mechanical switches, red seems to be pretty popular for gaming. I personally prefer blues or browns for all purposes. Blues are probably the best for me because I do a lot of typing. For a non-mechanical keyboard, I mean, the Logitech G15, I think is, or G50 or G30 or whatever it is. It's a fine keyboard. It has like little special buttons you can program on the side. If you want to like run a special macro or something with one button, whatever. And that's at operating system level, not at like in-game level. So you could run any script you wanted basically. Anyway, $1,232. Cost of Windows $35. This is what I was going to show you by opening this tab. Kingwin.net. How about this? Kingwin.net. I bought a bunch of Windows 10 keys before from these guys. Every single one has been good. They're legit. They're OEM, but they are legit. It's a real Windows key. You can buy Windows 10 Pro for 30 bucks. My haggard-ass laptop is really struggling here to record this video and load this website at the same time. It's pretty funny. Yeah, 30 bucks. Nextkeys.io. I bought from these guys plenty of times. It's a real Windows key. You don't have to crack it. You don't have to like risk downloading some thing that's going to get your internet shut off or your computer hacked or whatever. It's 30 bucks to get your key. The only thing is with these keys, you have to activate them over the phone with the granny method. What's the granny method? Great. Glad you asked. The granny method is where you call in on a cell phone or a landline, like any phone, and then you use like the touch tone keypad to like interact with the automated system to activate the device. It's very archaic, and it has a menu system that if you don't click the right one, you have to start over. But it works. I don't know, would you deal with that for like $150 to $200? Because that's basically the price difference between this key and buying it straight from the Windows Store. So that's it. You want to deal with Windows Store or whatever, then fine. shell out. Makes it really easy. You can transfer it to a different license one time. This one is non-transferable, okay? So that's an important detail to keep in mind. If you change your motherboard out for a different type of motherboard, if it's the same motherboard, like model and everything, but you're the one that you bought, that specific unit that was defective, and so they sent you a replacement unit, but it's the same type, then you don't have to worry about you don't have to worry about getting a new Windows key. If anything does pop up, you know, it will transfer to like a repaired computer of the same spec. You know what I mean? So like you don't have to worry about having to spend another $35 or whatever it is every time part breaks on your PC or you upgrade your CPU or whatever. It doesn't work like that. It's just $35. That's it. So yeah, $35 on top of this, plus another, I don't know, if you want like a really good gaming mouse keyboard setup, those can get pretty pricey. You can spend like $150 easy on the combo, or $150 just on the keyboard. I probably wouldn't do that. I'd probably just get like a decent mid-range dome rubber keyboard for like $30 with configurable buttons, and I would get like, I don't know, a basic vertical mouse for my wrist, because I'm old, for like $20. There you go. So that's it. That's your PC building guide, July 2019. While supplies last, these Ryzen 2000 parts are really good prices. Really, really good. While supplies last, though, these won't be around here forever. In fact, it'd be interesting to see how well this video ages. Because, I don't know, maybe they'll be gone in like 3 weeks. And this top tier section will be totally different. I doubt it, though. That seems a little bit fast. Lots of storage. Good, fast enough RAM. It's not slow. It's not like the fastest, but it's like really good. Price to performance is excellent, I would say. So you don't spend a lot of money, but you get a really good chunk of performance. I really like this RAM kit for $120 total for 32 gigs. Pff, yeah, 100%. 10 times out of 10, I take that. Good motherboard with Intel LAN, storage, meaty, graphics card, really good for 1080. This case, solid case. So it's a really nice case actually for $85. It was $70 until the tariffs kicked in. Speaking of tariffs, $47 for the Seasonic 620 watt fully mod. Dude, sign me up. And then this monitor, good pick, $154. That's it. That's your build. If you want to view this build, I'm going to copy this link and put it in the description. But keep in mind, all these prices are subject to change. Like, this can go either way, up or down. Now, like, it's not entirely predictable in the short term. But yeah, get them while they're hot. All right, guys. See ya.